great girlfriends, we invite you to What Women Want 2017, June 15th through 17th in New York City, powered by Prudential. The 2017 What Women Want Conference is all about uniting women from around the world in one weekend with power talks, workshops, dance breaks, beauty and wellness tips, and authentic connectivity that will inspire you to return home ignited to create change. This year, our theme of building bridges and breaking barriers is about women creating connections first with themselves and then with others to lead an outstanding life. At What Women Want, over 200 great girlfriends will go from me to we as our programming will guide girlfriends on living a life full of purpose and power. Connect with like-minded women who stand as bridges towards higher living and meaningful relationships. Gain clarity on what they truly want to manifest in their lives and their friendships, and celebrate the power and passion that women display when we leave all of our cares behind and savor the experience. So last but not least, log on now to whatwomenwantconference.com. Again, that's whatwomenwantconference.com and grab your tickets while they last. We'll see you there.
Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I am your host, Brandis Daniel.
I'm your co-host, Sibylla Muti. This week's episode is brought to you by Elvest. Just about every investment and retirement plan is created by men for men, which is fine unless you're a woman.
Girl, women still earn less than men for now. We're more aware of risk, and we're more likely than men to pause our careers to raise a family. And unfortunately, we typically retire with less wealth than men, even though statistics show that we live longer.
That's why there's Elvest, created for women, run by and designed by women. Elvest helps women invest based on their specific goals, like buying a home, starting a business, raising a family, or just retiring like a boss.
So girlfriends listeners can visit elvest.com/girlfriends and pay no advisory fees for the first 3 months.
Invest like a woman with Elvest. That's ELLEVEST.
And that's elvest.com/girlfriends.
We have a guest great girlfriend here with us today.
Yes, Miss Miko Branch.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I already want to talk to you guys all day. I miss girlfriend time and girlfriend chit chat because, as you know, we're working. We're so busy. We have families, so this is a great time for me.
Yes,
so good.
Miko, I promise you, you've been a star in our world long before we ever had the pleasure of meeting you. Just so you know.
Yes.
Oh, Miko, absolutely. I don't know if you fully understand who you are, and I think it might be a good thing. Because I think you are I don't even think you understand how many lives you've changed and how much influence you have over women.
Yes.
And what we believe about our hair and what we believe about entrepreneurship and what we believe we're capable of. I don't think you know it.
I go in and out of consciousness, with that concept. Right here, I'm actually in my brownstone in Brooklyn. And here's where my sister TGG Branch and I, we built our business from scratch. And, we were in the salon business. And the main strategy with a stylist is let me not tell my clients any secrets because I want to keep you guys coming back. But it was actually bath time. I was a single parent. We had to move our business here. And it was actually bath time. I could no longer keep my hair styled straight. My son is splashing all around the place. And my hair, when water hits it, what does it do? It shrinks up like everyone else's hair. And I had to come downstairs because I did hair on the second floor in the brownstone. And women had to see my hair in its natural state. And luckily, that started a conversation. And from that, everything happened. Miss Jessie's really came into formation.
Wow. Let me tell you, here's the funny thing, Miko. So in 2004, probably from 2003 to 2005, I was natural. Okay? That was when nobody was wearing their hair natural. There was no natural movement. There was no natural products. I had read about Mrs. Jessie's, I think, in an Essence magazine. Yeah. So I came to New York. One of my main reasons for coming to New York was I wanted to go buy Miss Jessie's product. So first time in New York City, didn't know anything about the city, got on the train to Brooklyn because there was one little shop in Fort Greene.
Soda Fine.
Yes! Yes! I couldn't think of the name of it. Yes.
That was our very first store. We needed that store.
Wow. Yes, I used to come all the way to Fort Greene to go to that store to buy Mrs. Jessie's curly pudding, the purple one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Briggs, with that support of our curly pudding in our business, you helped to keep TG and I afloat. We were building our business from scratch. No loans, no angel investors, just really relying on the support of you all. And, we had to actually move our product from our house to Soda Fine. What was happening was TG and I were actually mixing the product by scratch. We started off in our kitchen. We ended up in our basement, and we couldn't make the product quick enough. The orders kept coming in, so we had to find a place. Soda Fine was actually a thrift store. 2 white girls on DeKalb Avenue in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. And it was actually those 2 girls who actually set the tone for what our terms would be with other partners. We were actually going to give them a 60-40 split. 60 in their favor, 40 for us, because we just wanted people like Brandice to be able to get the product, because people were actually knocking on our door. And when we told them we can't service you now, we had so many women who were upset. So we got it there, and these 2 nice girls, lovely women, they said, why don't we do it 50-50? So that had been our terms with a lot of our partners, particularly in the early days, for many years. So thanks for supporting us, Brandice.
Absolutely. And my hair used to look so good. People always want to know, what are you using in your hair? What are you using in your hair? And I always use the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, I was a weave head for a long time. Faithful extension, just because I thought it was so easy and I loved it. And when I had Sam, my son had huge, voluminous, beautiful hair. And I had no idea what to do with it. Nothing. And so I don't even know if you remember this, but I was at Mamie McDonald's, and I came out of Mamie's, and you were there for your appointment. And Mamie goes, oh, this is my Miko. And I'm like, oh my God, I know who Miko is. I've heard so much, and I actually use curly pudding on my son's hair. And you were explaining that your son had large hair, and how you had to work through the products with your kid and so forth. And I used curly pudding for years, and my friends would go, why would you use a $40 product on a toddler's hair? And I was like, I really value his hair. And I feel like when you value something, you invest in it. And that was my first encounter with with your product, and then with you. And then later, when I became natural, transitioners was what I used to help me, help me love myself while I was going through the kinks.
You guys are making our day, because for every woman or every mother or every man, every child that ever used curly pudding, it really lets us know that, you value us, and it's just good to know that this stuff works. I mean, for results, I wish when I was a kid, because our hair was shrunk up, it was nappy in some areas, it was curly, it was all kind of, if I had a jar of curly pudding, I would have been so fresh as a kid growing up.
Confidence would have been totally different. Different kid, totally confident. I had so much hair shame when I was a kid, because it was just so much, and it was just a lot, but this day and age, I feel like our kids have the ability to own their hair in a new way, and have identity around their coils, and understand how to manipulate them and how to train them. And I think that's so valuable, because they were pioneers that really helped to build the confidence movement around hair, because we didn't have that. Natural confidence, not natural hair confidence was not there,
Yeah, so certainly the images we're seeing on TV, everyone had straight hair. Was younger Miko on TV. Everyone I saw had straight hair. I mean, my mother's Japanese American. Her hair was dead straight. But just for me to be able to embrace my hair in front of my son, and for other mothers to do it, it really sets the right imagery for our kids. I mean, we all want to emulate our mothers. That's probably all of our first beauty queens, And to see us in our natural state makes all the difference, because with all the surgery going on, you guys see it, with all of the enhancements. And for us, I mean, particularly the woman of color, the woman with the tighter coil curl, for her to know that her hair is just so fresh and just so versatile, it's valuable information, because it's so connected to our esteem.
Yeah.
And look, we just jumped right into this conversation. We usually do a full-on intro, and we were like, yeah.
Well, Miko, we love you. We're super fans. Two super fans.
There's so many parts of this story. I mean, our story in so many ways is everyone's story. For Titi and I, we actually stumbled across this business. I mentioned to you bath time really made me understand that not only do we have an opportunity to make some money, but we have an opportunity to really work side by side with women, just all of us who didn't know that we had something that's just so wonderful. So to be a part of that was great. And it was also good practice for Titi and I as partners, as sisters, and being able to contribute in a meaningful way. Building a business from scratch is not easy. They say to work with a family member is challenging, and both Titi and I can attest to that. But there's so many benefits in working with Sybil, with your husband, or Brandy's. You ladies work together. If you find someone that you love and that really has the right intentions towards you, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish. Right. Titi and I didn't go to business school. We didn't have any loans, any angel investors, but we had each other's back, and you'd be surprised, what kind of support. That kind of support that you get, that stuff makes all the difference. And what we didn't know, we figured out, and all of our shortcomings and all of our failures eventually became, the stepping stones to our success. So, any entrepreneurs, listening to our conversation, I encourage you, just try it. I mean, there's so much information that's available to us, but just trying it, and if you fail, guess what? Like, that's your wisdom for the next time around. But being your own boss, particularly as mothers, we're already bosses. We're telling our kids what to do. We're, organizing, our husband's schedules. I believe that if you can create a Thanksgiving dinner, that's CEO moves right there. If you can organize a Thanksgiving dinner, then you can be the boss of something. Hopefully you'll choose something that you love.
Yeah. I want to back up some, because I really want to know where the love or the affinity for the hair industry began.
Yeah.
And for both of you to be in the same industry, coming from the same house.
Yeah. So initially we were not in the same industry, and to understand Miss Jessie's, you really have to understand who Titi and I are as people. Miss Jessie's, a jar of curly pudding, is actually an extension of us. My dad, Jimmy Branch, he thought it was really important that he raise us in New York City or near New York City, within the 5 boroughs. And he thought it was so important because he thought that the exposure that we would have to other people, different economic backgrounds, different cultures, would really help and lend to our development as young women. My dad was somewhat of a ladies' man, so he understood the traps that were out here for women. So I believe he really wanted to arm Titi and I with just the ability to do for ourselves and having exposure. Travel is also a wonderful education, but being able to interface with many people, whether it's the hustler who's selling incense on the corner, right, or, they bust us to a school in Whitestone, which is really different than what we were experiencing in Jamaica, Queens. All of those different experiences lent to who we are. So when you see Miss Jessie's, you see our personality. So Titi was always a tomboy. I was more of a girly girl. So where did that come from? I loved everything pink probably from the time I was born. But honestly, ladies, I wasn't able to really articulate to my mother and father that I'm pink, I really like being a girl. My dad and mom, particularly my dad, my dad and mom were both going to school, so my dad really understood the importance of education. So he thought being educated was the way to go, which he's not wrong. And he didn't really respect, all things pink or all things girly. And although my mother went to art school, she was an artist, I think that they were more interested in those kinds of accomplishments, like a degree, and then you get you go on from there. So as a kid, I loved everything. I loved playing with Barbies. I loved Cher. I loved Thelma from Good Times. I loved Lola Falana. I mean, all of that, I'm tuned in. And luckily, I got a chance to later on tap into something that was really true to who I am. Everyone got their first relaxer. We called it a perm growing up. They got their first box braids from me. I was the go-to girl, and I just became good at it. My sister, Titi, she was a tomboy, TD was extremely smart. TD, with her great smart, she was accepted to a wonderful school, an elite school here in New York City called Hunter College High School. Mm-hmm. And, we were just very different. But within the relationship, TD was always the older sister. We were latchkey kids. TD always held the key. Always relied on TD to do everything. And eventually, when it came time for us to finally make a decision about partnering up and being entrepreneurs, we actually tapped into something that I love, which was hair. Mm-hmm. TD wasn't especially good at hair. She was focused on other things. She was good at playing skelly. She was good at, all things sports and smart, but not really tapped into, lipstick and hair. But with her support and our partnership, we tapped into what I was good at. Mm-hmm. And that's how we became a team. And that's how, although we didn't have capital, we had that partnership and we had that union. So slowly but surely we were able to build and build and build.
Wow.
Yeah. I wonder what would have happened had we tapped into what she was good at. And I wonder if I could have been as supportive, or been a real help to the partnership. So the dynamics in the partnership is really important, particularly for two girls who didn't go, get training on how to be a good partner to your partner or how to be a good partner to your sister.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Are you guys the only two?
We're the only two with my mother and father, but my father has a son who is older than TD and I. We love him to death. Okay. But it was just the two of us growing up, and it felt like just the two of us.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Who are you as a woman?
Who am I as a woman?
Mm-hmm. Now, today.
Yeah, that's very important now. So I've evolved as a woman, but now I am more sure of myself. I am more empathetic to the other person. Mm-hmm. As a woman, I am less afraid to be myself. Mm-hmm. As a woman, I have learned to be accountable for my actions. Mm-hmm. As a woman, I've learned to love the truth. And I've also learned to square off with rejection and not look at it as a negative thing. As a woman, I know that there's a lot more growing I need to do. It doesn't just stop here. And as a woman, I know that I'm responsible for not just myself. I'm responsible for probably a handful of some other people. And it's a transition that's kind of happened by default. I feel like the matriarch of my family right now. Wow. I don't know how that happened because I was always baby sister, baby girl. Yeah. But as little Miko, I've transitioned into that role, and sometimes I want to do it, and sometimes I'm like, why me?
Right.
But I realize as a woman that sometimes it's probably best not to question everything and just understand that God is leading my steps and He has me and everything is going to be okay.
Yeah, that's amazing. Isn't it interesting sometimes how like our family and life evolves and we end up in these roles and we're like, whoa, wait a minute, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think are some of the things, because it takes a certain amount of strength to go from I'm the baby to to serving in that role as matriarch when you feel, as you've always played a different role and now you've been able to rise into this role. Where did this strength come from?
I feel like I've had training and I've had little markers all along. Mm-hmm. I feel like the exposure of the time that Tiki and I spent with my grandmother was training. I got a chance to see a very strong Black woman run our family from her kitchen table. Mm-hmm. I got a chance to see a real CEO, my grandmother Jessie Branch, delegate, treat people how she wanted to be treated, and really command that kind of return and that kind of treatment in return. Mm-hmm. So I got a chance to tap into that because we didn't have the other resources of business school or, mentors in identifiable sense. But I had exposure to her. I also had the great experience to be raised by my sister, T.G. Branch. Mm-hmm. Although we were only a year and some change apart, I got a chance as a younger sister to learn a lot of things from my older sister because I was either too afraid to do it. Titi was either going to do it, and then both she and I can learn from her mistakes. But also, but also the love and the care that she had for me in supporting me and partnering with me was a great example for the kind of partner I am, whether I'm a partner to my son, whether I'm a partner in my romantic relationship. I actually tap back into the relationship that I had with Titi when I'm meeting a new friend or establishing a new relationship, whether it's business, So I think those two women really stand out to me the most. And it served me, so I'm able to tap back into that because, as you guys know, I didn't have the chance to go to charm school. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the opportunity for someone to say, "Hey, Miko, here is how you do it, and this is the order in which it happens." So, in looking back, and my hindsight is 2020. Mm-hmm. In looking back, I realized that the training and the lessons have always been there. I just have to stop what I'm doing to look back and see how I can pull from it. And those are the two women that I reference a lot.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You have a son throughout that entire entrepreneur. How old is your son now?
My son is 16.
Okay.
And, he gets embarrassed and shy, but honestly, there would be no Miss Jessie's without him. Mm-hmm. And I mean, really. And also, my son made a woman out of me. I was a much more immature Miko before I pre my son, and really very self-centered. It's about me. But after becoming a mom and the experience I had as a mom, as a single parent, really kind of framed me to be the kind of woman that I am now. So I don't know what kind of woman I would have been had I had a husband. Sybil, when I see you and your husband, I think you guys are so cute.
They are so cute.
Yeah, maybe with the support, I might have turned out to be a different Miko. But I think because of that challenge, it forced me to be a different mom to my son. So it's just he and I. I mean, I've always looked at it as just he and I, but that's not really the truth. Mm-hmm. My son, I raised my son with Titi. Mm-hmm. I've had help from my mother, my father, and just, friends and family who pitched in when they could. But it's because of my son that I had to tap in and think outside of the box, and figure out how we're going to pay our mortgage. And the reason why we were doing hair here in the brownstone is because, as rookies in business, we had just had a lot of success in a 2-chair salon downtown Brooklyn, and we made a lot of moves and we grew too fast and ended up losing our whole business. Mm-hmm. Luckily, in 1999, Titi and I bought a house, which is the house that I'm sitting in now, and we purchased in Bedford-Stuyvesant. And during that time, the hood was the hood. And that was a neighborhood that I raised my son in. I raised my son in Bedford-Stuyvesant, but although it was known as the hood, and although Bedford-Stuyvesant has always been beautiful, I mean, we wanted to. I mean, we preferred to live here. Mm-hmm. I think that all of the experiences that led up to Miss Jessie's, including him, was a great value to him, was a great value to me, and everything kind of complemented each other. Everything complemented every other thing. But no Miss Jessie's without my son, and I don't think we would have a mature Miko without my son and the kind of situation we were in. I think that many people look at single parenthood as not something as a preferred, choice for motherhood, but it was what God served me, so I made lemonade out of lemons.
Yes. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, and I really feel like, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I tell people all the time, no one has taught me more than Sam, my son, my first one, because I thought I knew me, and then this child comes along and they teach you things about yourself that you didn't know you needed to work on.
Yes, yes.
And then they teach you more about the world that you want to see and that the way you want to engage with it and how you want to participate. And, they open you up. And then the next one came and just a whole other set of lessons. And you know what I mean? I feel like the lessons with motherhood just keep evolving because the child progresses and you have to grow with the child or you get left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys, I mean, Brandice, you have a little one too. Don't they change you, these kids? Don't they make you different?
They grow you so much. Oh my gosh. Changes you don't know you want.
Yes, absolutely. And Miko, it takes a minute. It took me, so all of last year I was warring between the pre-mother Brandis and Sky's mom.
Yes.
I was like warring because I was like, she shouldn't be different. She should be the same person. So I'm finally like at peace with it. I'm good with it now. You know, like, okay, I'm going to be different. I'm not going to be the same person. I'm a mom and I'm not the same. And I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But it's taken me a minute to get here.
Yeah, no training course. I mean, we have our wonderful grandmothers and our mothers, but no real training.
Nobody tells you the truth, though, Miko. They don't
It's very true. No one talks to you about that part of it.
No, they don't at all.
Can I ask you a question, Miko? Because, you know, as a woman entrepreneur with a child, there's so many sacrifices that come along the way that you have to make on one side or the other to create harmony. Tell us how you work through mommy guilt. Did you ever experience it? Did you, you know, how did you prioritize your time? How did you dedicate yourself so that everything, because your child and Miss Jessie's flourished at the same time.
Right.
So.
Yep. So I never really wanted to experience mommy guilt because I always understood that, you know, I was going to be a real single parent, not with his dad making visitations and we would do like the halfway baby daddy thing. Like I knew like he was not going to be involved. Mm-hmm. So with that, you know, with me knowing that from the beginning, it was really important that I be in his life. So although my sister and I, we lost our business and we had to move our business to our house, it actually served me well as a mother because daycare wasn't an option in the beginning days because I wanted to establish that relationship with my son. So I really wanted to limit mommy guilt. So here's what I did. I put everything in one house. If you wanted to get your hair done by me, you had to come to the hood. Some people came civil, some people didn't.
Yeah.
1999, Bed-Stuy was a different place. So I had to choose. There were times that I had to choose. So in that, I had to lose customers because me sending my son to a daycare was not an option. So I wanted to give my son a bath on the 4th floor when I can, after that thing, I can come downstairs and do your hair, and then I can make it back upstairs for dinner time. And that bond was really important. So I did a lot of sacrificing as Miko, and a lot of my individual time was spent with my son and also spent with building a business. Luckily, everything happened in this house. There was not one floor that didn't work. We worked every single floor, whether I'm giving baths on one floor, we're making curly pudding on another floor, we have customer service on another floor, I'm doing hair, and all throughout those floors, my son could run through any of those floors and see me. So I was homebound. One thing that I didn't do is I didn't get a chance to really go to the party, and I didn't really get a chance to date that often or that seriously because at the end of the day, I needed to be home, and I just couldn't imagine a man who would really want to tolerate that because it was just so important that I needed to be in my business with my sister and also mother to Faison. So for a good portion of my life, ladies, I had no real social life, and it was dedicated to my son and my business, which it was both labor of love. And now as he's older, I'm trying to find time for myself. So to ask to honestly, I don't have any mommy guilt. I'm doing me.
I love
and
that.
I also realize life is short, you know, and I put good time in with my son. So if my son ever started talking about you didn't do this or you didn't do that, we got to look for another mommy because that wasn't me. You know, I put time in with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully he'll be the best he can be, but I sacrificed a lot of Miko time. And luckily, you know, I didn't have a lot of remorse because I was able to do the things that I loved while I was, doing it.
But I wonder too, Miko, you know, in certain ways, did you gain it back? Because now the time that you have and the business is in a position where you have to take your hands off of some things. So you don't have to participate in the same way. And you've made room for new relationships, and now they're present.
Yeah.
I wonder if you gained it 100-fold for what you really invested in your son. You know what I mean? And the business at the time.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, everything kind of complemented every different situation. But the sacrifices that I made as a younger Miko, I'm able to now enjoy myself as an older Miko, and it's really a choice. They say for women, a common saying is you're going to either get played when you're young or you're going to get played when you're older. But it's going to happen. So many people, when I was in my 20s, a lot of my friends they were able to go to the party, they were able to really enjoy themselves, not a lot of, commitment, dedication, obligation. And during that time, I was more committed to building my business. Then eventually I became a mom. But now on the back end, for maybe some of my friends who didn't spend the time to invest in themselves and really sacrifice in the same ways that I did, maybe we're having different experiences. And maybe as an older Miko, I'm able to date and go to a party and maybe drink a pina colada or go on a vacation more so. So it's really choosing when. Yeah. And some people like to do that when they're younger. I'm doing it when I'm a bit older. And no way is the better way. It just happened this way for me. And luckily my boy is 16. So, as we, get him ready for college, hopefully, there'll be no, talking of how I wasn't there or why are you having so much fun and you need to be home waiting for me when I get home. So, during the time when my son could care less, I mean, he's a 16-year-old and he's a typical teenager. So for us to get a conversation out of him, we got to shake him down.
Yeah. So Miko, along the way, people will, on the outside, the perception is that certain people have it all figured out. They know what they're doing, you know what I'm saying, and that they were calculated on every step and every build was so strategic. Were you in a position, you and TT, were you in a position where you all knew everything along the way? Help our entrepreneurs who are trying to say, I need to have it all figured out.
We knew nothing in one sense, but we knew a lot. On the other hand, so what was the nothing? I mean, we didn't have training in how to be a good employer, or we didn't have training in the standardized ways or the traditional ways. But when we really thought about it, we had a lot of know-how. We never hired a marketing team, but actually the marketing existed in us. We grew up in New York, so we saw Russell Simmons build his company. We saw Salt and Pepper. We saw an art form be transformed from just art into later commerce. So all of that exposure and that seeding and that positioning that my dad put in place for us, it ended up serving us, and that's what we tapped into. So in one way, we didn't know anything, and sometimes, Sybil, we had to lose everything. When we made the turn down the wrong alley, we understood very quick, okay, that was the wrong move. And then other times we knew exactly what to do. So I think God gives it to you when you need it. And whatever lessons we learn, we ended up having to embrace it because there was a fear or there was a resistance to, well, if I don't do this, then I have to go work for someone. And our dad raised us where working for someone was somehow a bad word. That's how he raised us. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think everyone is not built to be an entrepreneur. I think everyone should try it. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone should beat themselves up if they realize, what, I like doing my thing. I like doing my own thing after 5 o'clock. I don't want to be the boss, and that's okay too. That's not for suckers. That's not for losers. It's just who you are. And I know plenty of people who are employees who, have experienced wealth and success. So I just, I speak to most people and I present as an entrepreneur, but I just want to be clear, it's not for everyone. And when you're an entrepreneur, you're probably put in a position where you have to know more, or it probably be to your advantage if you know more. But for us, we did it. We paid the price for that, and it was a slow build. But you know what? Eventually, those lessons stuck with us.
Wow. When you say slow build, how long do you think it took you guys from beginning to a place where you felt like you kind of had some things really figured out?
It probably took us around a decade, which is a long time for an entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs get into business because they want to make money. They want to become successful, and I get it. honestly, Titi and I became entrepreneurs, and I was the first entrepreneur, believe it or not. I started doing hair in my house, and that's how I was introduced to being an entrepreneur. I never really understood that I could hold up the sign of being an entrepreneur, but I started doing hair in my house, and in that moment, I became an entrepreneur. And because Titi and I got into business because we simply wanted to be our own boss, we weren't really motivated by the money. We were making decisions based on being in a position of choice, being in a position of independence. So the money didn't really lead us. So I was thinking if the money led us, then maybe we would have experienced maybe financial success earlier. But because if you see our deal with maybe some of our retail partners, some of our goals is to be in control of our stuff, whether it be, our intellectual property, whether it be those things. So we were led by that. And those things for us took longer. So we had to sit out, or we had to leave money on the table in order to retain that. So it really fell back to our values. And I think because of that, and also because we didn't have contacts, we didn't have formal training, we had to learn lessons bit by bit, step by step. So it took us around 10 years, but guess what? When you do it that way, if you do experience success as an entrepreneur, you're able to enjoy all of it yourself. You don't have to split that pie up with anyone. But the trade-off is, for us, is that we had to put more time into it, and it took us longer because we focused on something else.
Wow.
Well, we close out, Miko, every episode by thanking the loves of our life. And so, Kwaku, but Kwaku, I'm so grateful. I thank God for him, and I'm just happy we've had our 10 and a half, almost 11 years married now. So thank you, Kwaku.
Wow. I want to thank my husband, Rich Daniel. Miko's been there with me through my 10 years of entrepreneurship, which is tough.
Yes.
So I thank him so much for his love and support.
That is wonderful. I'm so happy that you guys are experiencing love, not only with your kids, but also with your husband. And it sounds like you guys are friends too. That's wonderful.
Would you like to thank anyone?
I'd like to thank my son because I love him so much since we're talking about love. I'd like to thank my sister. Shout out, Titi. I see you. You're with me every single day. If Titi were here, Titi would actually be doing the interviews because she was just a great, phenomenal speaker. I had to learn to come out of my shyness, but shout out to Titi. I love you so much, and I'm trying to hold everything down, and I know you're resting. And, shout out to my family, and shout out to my boyfriend because he's great, and I love him to death too. And shout out to you guys because I could talk to you guys forever, and thank you for having me. I really love our talk.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And we just want to thank Sam and Dylan and
little Miss Sky. She's going to be up in just a moment. She's taking a nap right now, Miko.
Okay.
She'll be
She's supposed to be sleeping when she's sleeping, right?
Oh, please. When does that happen? Does that really happen?
We try.
Right. And thank you to all of our great girlfriends around the world, now in 87 countries. Thank you so much for trusting us as your go-to source for everything life, love, and laughter. Make sure you check us out each Wednesday on iTunes, Podcast Republic, Stitcher, Blueberry, and every other podcasting service.
Absolutely. And please be sure that you guys are following us on our social so that you can learn all about our What Women Want conference that's happening June 15th through 17th. Whoop, whoop.
Yes.
So check us out on our Instagram,
The Great Girlfriends,
on Twitter,
_Great GFS,
and on our Facebook,
The Great Girlfriends.
And be sure that you guys join our Facebook group. We're at, I believe, about 17,000 in our Facebook group. It's super active. It's one of probably the most loving communities on the internet. And our goal is actually 27,000 by the end of this year. So be sure you guys go and sign up there.
That's right. Make sure you post your questions online. You share with your friends. Keep listening.
And keep being a great girlfriend.
I'm Sybil.
I'm Brandis.
I'm Miko.
And we're signing off.
Signing off. Peace.
Peace.